Right, it's great to see everybody. Welcome to Unit 4, Lesson 6. So you're looking for tasks for U4L6. You can find it under assignments or in the weekly calendar. Today's date is the 19th of January. We'll start off with our usual pair and share. The question for today is, if you had to delete all but 3 apps from your smartphone, which ones would you keep? Now, let's assume that it continues to be a phone. So calling and FaceTime, messaging, and let's say the camera, those can all stay. So you don't have to choose any of those. So let's assume those are there. What are the 3 kind of like additional apps, like stuff you would have to download and install normally, that if you had to delete everything, what are the 3 that you would keep? So think about what you use or what you like to use or something like that. And don't forget to say hi. Thanks a lot for sharing, everybody. Next on the docket is homework check. You are going to be doing a laboratory activity today where you're going to be measuring lung capacity. So ideally, you have a balloon and a ruler. Those are the 2 pieces of lab equipment you'll need. However, if you don't have them, it's okay. I have sample data you can use. But just to see, I've got a quick poll here I'd like you to complete. Your answers are anonymous. Just answer these 2 questions for me, whether or not you have a balloon and whether or not you have a ruler or meter stick or some kind of measurement tool that you could use today. Again, don't panic if you don't have these. I have sample data. You will still be able to do the laboratory. All right. Here we go. All right, looking good. Just like my previous class, so we're split about halfway. 6 of you have ruler or balloon, 6 don't. That's all right. And then it looks like all of you have rulers, so which is great. So again, don't panic. I have sample data you can use for the laboratory. You'll still be able to do all of it and compare and answer questions. So otherwise, the other homework was all about the lung health. You had to complete reading the John Hopkins health questions about vaping. I'm seeing 11 attempts on that, which is awesome. I don't know about you guys, but I love watching the 2 different commercials and just very clear different messaging that the 2 of them are making. But I think it's important just to know that again that company Fennis or whatever it's called is just trying to make money, right? They're trying to sell a product. Tobacco Free California is trying to raise awareness about health, which all of you seem to take from that. It is pretty crazy. Again, I feel like I hear continually a lot about how vaping is safe and smoking is dangerous. And while I think if you compare those 2 things, you could say there's less concentrations of toxins within vapor compared to a regular cigarette, there's still some pretty nasty stuff. And I really didn't, I don't know if anyone knew that about popcorn lung. I always thought popcorn lung was because your lungs cracked and sounded like popcorn popping. I didn't know that it's actually like a food flavor that's in the vape. And it popped up. They first discovered that it was carcinogenic. It caused cancer in popcorn factory workers because they were breathing it in all the time. And now we're using that in for flavoring in these actual e-cigarettes, which I thought was pretty nuts. So also interesting that teens apparently are more vulnerable because you're growing. So your lungs are all kind of stretched out and have these weak points that'll punch holes in them. So the other assignment then was the pneumothorax, all about the collapsed lung. Again, I'm seeing 10 attempts on that. So if you have not gotten around to that, it's super short. It's just a couple videos and things, but kind of interesting that your lungs are contained in a space. It's almost like your upper chest is a bottle. And if you punch a hole in it, if you're shot or stabbed or car accidents frequently result in collapsed lungs. The problem is you don't want air to get in there because then the air fills up that pleural space and pushes the lung down and it can't inflate again, so you can't breathe. And what's kind of funny though is, does anyone know what's the fix for it then? If you've got a collapsed lung, or at least a temporary fix, what are they going to do? If anyone was brave enough to watch that 3 Kings clip, what does he do to what does George Clooney do to Mark Wahlberg to fix him? Harmony?
Insert a chest tube or just poke a hole to release the air.
Yeah, you poke another hole and just try to get the hair out so that the lung can expand again and push the air out. So yeah, again, a bit of a graphic scene in terms of a war film, but kind of cool. I don't know if anyone was brave enough to watch it. They like zoom in and actually show the anatomy a little bit in the movie too, which I thought was interesting. Did people enjoy the CEO from Jules message? I really like college humor. Um, so if you enjoyed that, you should check out. They have a great one about Tide and Tide Pods as well. Um, All right, any other questions or comments on those two assignments on collapsed lung or John Hopkins vaping and health? Alrighty, then our primary thing to do today is the measuring lung capacity lab. Just going to share my screen here for 2 seconds. We are on tasks to complete step number 3. If you click on the assignment right there, measuring lung capacity, it will take you to a quiz that looks like this. And so all the instructions are here. There's about 5 pre-lab questions that are all multiple choice. And then the lab itself involves some complicated measurement stuff, but I tried to make the instructions as clear as possible. Please look at the images, read every step, and it should be pretty straightforward. I'll be here listening if you have questions. I'm happy to take you to a breakout room and guide you through it if you need it. You are going to be using a Google Sheet at some point to enter data. Now, again, for those of you who have balloons and have rulers, you're just going to follow the instructions and enter your data into this first table here, balloon diameter, and then you're going to do a little conversion to get it to lung volume. If you don't have a balloon, you don't have a ruler, then here's the sample data. So males, you'll use this sample data. Females, you'll use the sample data over here. And then you can still do everything else in the lab. So again, I'll be here. If you have questions or something isn't clear, let me know. I'm going to time for 25 minutes to work through this, and we'll come back together. If you finish before 25 minutes is done, you're welcome to get a head start on the homework, which is an article reading. You can check that out. And if you don't finish, don't panic. You'll still have more time to work on it. It's not due until our next class meeting. So go for it. Let me know if you need help. Okay, Harmony, thanks for the update about Summer. Figured she was having trouble joining. Okay, seeing 11 out of 12 votes right now. See if one more to roll in. There we go. All right. Let's take a look. All right, you should be able to see the results on your screen. Nobody got exactly the same, which shows again that there is obviously some variation. 4 people had an estimated vital capacity that was lower than what they actually measured, and most of you 8 had one that was higher. That's usually, in all my years of doing this lab, what I usually expect to see is that the estimated vital capacity was a little bit higher because we're using a rubber balloon to then measure your actual breath out. And does anyone know, what does a rubber balloon do to the gas inside of it? The fact that it's rubber. What is it doing to it? You think it's crushing it, or is it just expanding it? What do you think?
Expanding it.
Well, your air is definitely expanding and stretching out the balloon, but as you're expanding it, it's going to be fighting it, right? It's elastic, and so it's actually kind of it's pressing back on it as it expands, right? You're breathing out, you're pushing out the balloon, but then the volume of the gas is actually probably a little bit smaller than what it would be if you were just breathing out into the atmosphere, right? Because the rubber, as it's stretched out, starts to resist. And so, yes, that's why I would expect to see the estimated to be higher than what you actually found. But anyway, kind of interesting, I think. So doctors check lung capacity for a variety of reasons. Your lung capacity can change. It's not something that I think would ever give a person like an athletic advantage, right? It's not like, Kenyans who are always winning, these marathons, they're not winning them because they have a larger lung capacity. That doesn't really play a huge role. That's more to do with how much hemoglobin and how many red blood cells you have, but you can change your lung capacity a little bit. What are some things that would reduce lung capacity? Like, what do you think would make it suffer or lower it? Any guesses? What's something not so good for your lungs?
Smoking.
So smoking has been shown to stiffen the lungs so they can't expand as much. I'm pretty sure vaping also is not all that good for it, though I don't think it has the same stiffening effect, though it might, given the chemicals that are in it. There's a allergic condition that some people have, causes swelling of the airways. Anyone know what that's called?
Asthma.
So asthma can definitely probably also just reduce the amount of air that's taken in with each breath, and therefore it would at least make breathing in a deep breath a lot harder, and probably therefore less air. Um, those are the ones I can think of. Anything involving lung damage, so lung cancer, where you lose part of a lung too, is would also reduce the capacity. What are some things that would improve lung capacity? Like, how could you expand it? Go ahead, Thomas.
Uh, like, like meditation or like lung expansion practices, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of people meditating and stuff, they do a lot of breathing exercises, which definitely exercises the lungs. They really do focus on deep breaths. I'd be very curious. I'm sure that they probably do have a slightly larger lung capacity, at least in that moment as well. Abby?
Like singing or playing instruments that are like wind instruments. That's what they're.
Yep. Yeah. So, like playing something like saxophone or trombone, or like you said, singing, anything that's like exercising the lung a little bit more might strengthen the diaphragm, allow it to expand the lungs a little bit more. So, good. Meditation, playing a wind instrument. What do you guys think about athletics? Do you think playing sports regularly might expand lung capacity a bit? I'd say so. I'd be curious if there's a difference between something like swimming, um, which doesn't involve as much breathing, or at least breathing has to be a lot faster in periods where you are able to breathe versus something like tennis. I don't know the difference there. I'd be curious. Again, it would be so subtle, I think. But yeah, just kind of interesting that you can think of your lungs as this flexible thing that can be worked out or damaged. So great. Any other questions or comments on that? All right, the last thing I wanted to present to you guys then was your final exam. Rather than giving you an exam during our exam period, we're going to be focusing on a research project and a debate that we're going to be having around an issue, an environmental issue that's actually still ongoing in Bristol Bay, Alaska. We're going to watch a documentary. We're going to split the class into 4 groups, which are going to go against each other 2 and 2. And have a little debate about this issue, which I will show to you now through this short trailer of we're going to watch this 1-hour documentary together over the next 3 lessons. I'll split it into 3 20-minute chunks. I'm going to optimize my screen here. Okay, here we go.
What we have right now is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to ensure that we don't go and screw this up so that in 15 years or 20 years or 50 years, people are looking at us saying, how did you let that happen?
It's premature for any reasonable person to formulate an opinion on whether or not this project benefits outweigh the risks.
We have to ask ourselves whether it's worth the risk. No, not no. Not just no, but hell no.
Bristol Bay's backbone is salmon.
In some places you just have to say no, that the risks are too high, that we can't engineer, we can't mitigate our way out of the mess that we're about to create.
What do we got to think? We got to conquer everything and kill it and destroy it and beat it to death?
Open pit mining ruins watersheds.
There's never been a mine of this size and this type that's ever been built in such sensitive fish habitat.
There is a conventional wisdom that ecosystems are fragile. And conventional wisdom, in my experience, is typically conventional, but not always wise.
think we could have the first really successful open pit mine in the world. It's like you could sit here and have nothing, or you can have everything.
For the communities in this area to survive, we need an economic opportunity. Commercial fishing doesn't cut it anymore.
We think we're all millionaires. We think we're the richest people on earth. You know, it's just a matter of mind state. If you're a broke fisherman and you can see the beauty in everything, you've got a wonderful life.
All right, so your homework tonight is going to involve reading an article related to that. There is an ongoing conflict between a very large proposed mining project in Bristol Bay, Alaska, which is also sort of going head to head with the salmon fishery in Alaska, which is also a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so it's something we're going to be exploring, learning about, and then having a little debate and vote on. And that will kind of be our main event for our final exam. And we'll use the coming days to prepare for it. We'll watch that documentary. It's about an hour long. We'll split it into 3 20-minute chunks to go through. So, but again, you'll be able to reflect on it first time for homework. So homework is just to make sure you have finished the lung capacity lab you were working on in class today, and go ahead and read what's called the Goldfish Reading Reflection. That's an article from Outside Magazine. That's kind of old. It's back from 2009, but we'll introduce you to this environmental issue. Any questions on that? All right, kiddos, honestly, that is it for me. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.